So I do read educational content, and I do like to collect things that are eclectic and all over the place with nonfiction content. So today I have five plus an honorable mention because the author is kind of interchangeable with his books. He's got a lot of really great stuff. But anyway, let's start it up. How We Learn to Move. This is the number one book, I guess, of the year for me. I think this is like the most important book I've ever read, and it kind of helped me form a worldview on how people learn to move, which specifically it's like about coaching a room, how to think about people in environments, how to design environments, how to think of and understand organisms self-organizing around the problems in environments and creating motor solutions. So it gets you into the constrained learning approach. It gets you into differential learning. If those things aren't like a big thing for you, you kind of don't care about coaching, this book's really still kind of okay to read, but you really kind of want to be better in your coaching if you're going to read this, or at least just understanding motor skill acquisition, which, I mean, when we teach anybody anything in the real world out there, even if we're onboarding someone in a job, a lot of this stuff actually applies. Like, you can use constrained learning approach, and some of the things Rob Gray talks about in here really opened my mind and made me have at least something to understand. It's complicated because of all of the actual studying you have to do to understand everything that's going on in this, but this is like the most comprehensive overview of all of the things that go together that give you that worldview, that kind of understanding. I mean, I have a full breakdown of this book coming. I was shooting that video, but it got interrupted and I kind of lost my mojo for it, so I gotta like go back, redo the whole thing from the ground up and just run a solid take of that, and then I'll get you guys a full review of How We Learn to Move by Rob Gray. Well, Rob Gray's a PhD professor at Arizona State, and he's got a lot of podcasts that I also like to accompany the reading of this with. I also got into a community online, the Ecological Approach for Submission Grappling, a Discord community, and part of kind of like a YouTube and Jiu-Jitsu movement. Specifically for my coaching and grappling, I coach 6 classes a week in Jiu-Jitsu using the ecological approach. And this book really was the thing that launched me off into like the next level. It opened up a lot of new opportunities for me because I am kind of the only person in my area that's doing this. So I'm in the New York area, and I don't know anyone else who's doing the ecological approach in Jiu-Jitsu classes. So that's where a whole other video comes in here. But this book, if you guys didn't understand a lot of what I just said, this book changed my life personally. And it's a nonfiction book for anyone who's a coach out there, anyone who has to teach people things, anyone who deals with kids, who deals with dogs, animals, anything, any organism that's kind of in an environment with tasks. This just gets you there. I'm going to leave it at that because you can really quickly go off the deep end with this stuff. And I just want to say that that's a very important book. This book was the most important book of the year for me, number one. There's no other book this year that changed my life so much, okay? I really do have like a real strong connection to this book, and then the accompanying podcasts of Rob Gray, and then all of the offshoots of people who discuss and help you learn as you go. And I mean, I took this really slow. I would just learn like one word a day if I didn't understand the word, and just kind of like go deeper on that, try to understand that, figure out what I don't need to really know, and how to really think of like this whole thing. I also participated in a lot of debates online with people who are reading this book, or people who are better at understanding this. Like, they've been doing this longer, they've been in the approach a longer time. They know more than just Rob Gray. They know a lot of other stuff like Renshaw and all these other books that accompany this. But yeah, How We Learn to Move. As I said, I could sit on that one for hours and hours. I love it. Let's go into something interesting for anyone. You don't have to be a coach. This is just a cool book to have. If you book stack like me, you're going to be able to insert a book like this, because this is not I need to read this from beginning to end book. These are a bunch of case studies. Okay, each chapter is its own case study, and they're all related to nothing. The notion of nothing, the concept of nothing, and it's edited by Jeremy Webb. So there's many different scientists and writers that are putting together topics of the concept of nothing, like voids, empty space, and all things that have to do with the idea of nothingness. It's very cool, like the number 0, vacuums in space and what's going on there, the Big Bang, what was zero time, like all kinds of things like that with different authors. I mean, I'm looking in the contents right now. Yeah, every single chapter is a different author. I'm sure you can look up each of those authors. This is a really awesome book. Nothing. Some of my favorite chapters were Absolute Zero. They talk about absolute zero. That's really cool. The Big Bang, which is the first chapter, it's really good. It goes right into it. The Turbulent Life of Empty Space. So it talks about like what's going on in vacuums, vacuum packed. So yeah, this is cool. Definitely an interesting book in your book stack. So you could just pull this open. If you want to read some variety in your life, something like this is really good because you could just look at the chapters, slide to any page, and read one of the chapters, and it'll be like a case study that they're kind of edited and analyzed and kicked back to you to understand. So it's nothing, surprising insights everywhere from zero to oblivion, edited by Jeremy Webb. Okay, very interesting book, and it covers like a huge span of just everything that shares the concept of zero and nothing and vacuums and voids and all these things that are kind of hard to just think about. This is like researchers and science-based stuff. It's a little bit nerdy, but it's actually very palatable and super fun to read. So Nothing, very interesting one to have in the stack. All right, I was gonna do 5 books, but I decided that I have to include this man. Leonard Mlodinow, okay. I'm pretty sure, yes, he was a co-author or featured in Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time. So this guy's like a legit, he's been around, he's very excellent, high-level like physicist, writer, Leonard Mlodinow. So this is called The Drunkard's Walk, How Randomness Rules Our Lives, okay? It's about kind of how statistics lies, kind of how confirmation biases work. It's again just like the one I just explained to you. It's kind of like this book where each chapter, so chapter 1, peering through the eyepiece of randomness, chapter 2, the laws of truths and half-truths, chapter 3, finding your way through a space of possibilities, a framework for thinking about random situations from a gambler in plague-ridden Italy to Let's Make a Deal. Chapter 4, tracking pathways to success, so seeing if like things are correlated and if they're not, and how randomness affects correlations, and false positives and positive fallacies, measurement and the law of errors, the order in chaos, how large numbers can wash out the disorder of randomness, or why 200 million drivers form a creature of habit. Crazy stuff here. Illusion of pattern and patterns of illusion. And chapter 10 is The Drunkard's Walk, why chance is more fundamental conception than causality. Bruce Willis, Bill Gates, and the normal accident theory of life. So this thing is definitely really interesting, and it has a lot of truth bombs in it, and some of it's a little difficult, so it's not just like a really super easy read. I mean, but it is definitely approachable. And Leonard has other books that are notable, like Subliminal. That's also a book that could be on here. I have it right here, but I just didn't choose it because I wanted to not make an entire list of Leonard. But you could keep going with him because he has a couple of very excellent books out there. So Leonard Mlodinow, The Drunkard's Walk, How Randomness Rules Our Lives. There's a lot to learn in this one, for sure. There are just a lot of little gems that start to help you like kind of think of things in a different way. And like all of those confirmation bias and all these like things you think that are correlated, like they're actually not, and maybe it's this instead. And he has a lot coming at you with this one. Very interesting book to me. So I do recommend that. This one is for anyone in healthcare. This one is for anyone I'm in the physical therapy field. You know, I've been doing that for a long time, so I'm around people in pain a lot. I'm also in the coaching field, so this does help understanding pain. This is a very excellent book, okay? This is Pain, the Science of Suffering. It's not a long book, but it is quite dense. The beginning part of the book, they kind of show you how neurons work and how the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system are actually constructed and how the cells communicate. But once you get past some of that dense stuff at the beginning, and you get to some of the normal pain responses, and you get to pain with obvious causes, that's a very interesting part for me. Like, if you're having I just think it explains to you, breaks down, like, obvious causes of pain: toothaches, heart attacks, twisted ankles, scratches, osteoarthritis, childbirth, cancer, amputation. It goes deep on the process of pain and what it is. And there's a lot of little gems in this one that really just come together, and they're super excellent. One of the best things, the last sentence, it's not like it's going to spoil anything. Pain is not just a sensation, but like hunger and thirst is an awareness of an action plan to be rid of it. Just super brilliant stuff here. This is like, I don't know who the author is, Patrick Wall. Don't know who he is. Don't know what else he's done. But this one is really secretly excellent, okay? If you're in the healthcare field, this is a short read. I'd say read this. It's got a lot of, you could use it as reference material. It just has so much excellent stuff in it about pain and the human experience in general, and the process. And it gets a little bit dense, but some of it that I don't understand, I'll just try to study it and then move on and try to read the whole book not as fast as I can, but like get through it. I don't like to get hung up too much. I did take a neurology of pain class in college in my last semester, and I loved it. I aced that class, but I did have this book while I was in that class, so it did help me to have an understanding already of neurology. But this definitely goes into that neurology territory for sure, especially when it starts talking about like action potentials and stuff of like neurons. Yeah, so it's very approachable. I know it seems like it's dense, but definitely if you're in the healthcare field, you're into injuries at all, you want to just know about the human experience, you don't even need to be in the healthcare field, to be honest. This thing's a 10 out of 10 book. It's very, very good, okay? And I don't think it cost me that much money. I found it on eBay. Let's see if it's got a price on it somewhere. No price for you guys, but I don't think it cost me that much money, to be honest. It's not like a super expensive book. So definitely awesome. Copyright the year 2000, so it's 24 years old now. But yeah, check it out. Pain by Patrick Wall. Change your life. Helps a lot to know that stuff. This one, totally different than everything I just talked about. Life in a Medieval City by two guys. Actually, Francis Guys and Joseph Guys. Well, two guys, I guess. Anyway, this is a historical, it's not fiction, okay, because it's not a story. It's about life in a medieval city, guys. So it zooms out first, and it's going to show you kind of what the medieval world looked like in the year 1250. The year 1250 in France, okay? So it shows you the roadways, how the roadways worked, how people would travel on the roadways. Basically, George R. R. Martin, his name is written on this because he apparently used it as a research resource. And I do like to write a little bit of fantasy. I do like to read it. So it's interesting to actually have some historical knowledge of that thing. So if you're into writing, or if you're into just thinking about writing about things, or you just want to know about this era, because it's actually really, really cool. It's also enlightening to see where we came from, because life is much different now, okay? They used to lock their spices away in a spice cabinet because that stuff was so valuable. Like, they'd have to hide it and lock it down, like, just forget it. Like, you get shot up over some saffron real quick. They run up on you and steal your saffron. Shows you about, like, just think of every single like edifice in the city, how the cities are laid out, how this city's laid out, how it functions, all the businesses, all the travel, all the vehicles, all the jobs, what average life is like, every item in a room, things that people used. This just really slices it up for you, and you get this whole thing. So let's see if I can get you some. So the contents, I'll just flash them on the screen there. I don't know if you could read it, but the contents, you have like kind of the zoomed out. It shows you the maps. It shows you how the roadways work. It shows you how people travel and like pay taxes on like bridges and stuff, tolls, how people who own certain parts of the road get like a certain amount of protection of that road that they use. It's just really interesting, and then it keeps going. Childbirth, housewives, weddings and funerals, small business, big business, what doctors were like, what the church was like, what the cathedral meant to the city, what it was like, school and scholars, books and authors. There's even a part where they talk about how it takes like some ridiculous amount of time to like handwrite and copy a book, and how valuable books were. And now look, we have books like, we have so many books. I have my attic filled with books. I have this bookshelf over here. It's really kind of meager bookshelf, but that's because I don't have a giant house yet. But once I do, I'm gonna have a library in that house. You know it. The new theater, so like what was acting like entertainment itself, natural disasters and disasters like plagues. Obviously, in the medieval era, there was plagues. People did not have health care, so there was all kinds of stuff you learn about with that. Town government, so all the different government jobs and how government worked. And then fairs, and it keeps going. You know, there's so many little hidden gems and bombs in here. Truth bombs and all kinds of cool things to read about and learn about. It's a historical piece, but it's not like dry like a lot of history could be for some people. This isn't that way. This is very palatable, very fun. There's also Life in a Medieval Village, if you want to know about a village and different than a city, and then Life in a Medieval Castle. Totally different books, same people. This is an excellent one here. These guys are historians of medieval, the best selling historians of medieval Europe, and it looks like they are both deceased. Together and separately, they wrote more than 20 books, which collectively have sold more than 1 million copies. So yeah, I guess they're really pushing it, but these guys are no longer alive. Obviously, they spent their whole lives teaching us about what life was like at that time. So definitely Middle Ages stuff here. This is great. If you're writing anything, or if you're trying to, even a D&D campaign, anything like that, guys, this definitely will give you a real good sense. Like, it'll just teleport you right down into what life was like in a medieval city. It's so cool. Definitely very interesting book here. There's also images in it and stuff. Their art, of their machinery, of whatever the art at the time looked like. So definitely interesting stuff. This is about a place in France, okay, in 1205, 1250. So that's a couple years ago now, okay? So I'll probably finish this with this one, because this is probably like the pinnacle of my nonfiction books. It's really crazy. So I don't have the cover on it, because on these hardcovers, I always take the cover off. I don't like how they feel. Anyway, The Greatest Show on Earth, The Evidence for Evolution by Richard Dawkins. Now, Dawkins is kind of infamous for being like the loudest atheist out there, and he actually does have pretty excellent books on that too. Not pushing that ideology, I'm just saying he has excellent books on it. This book is crazy stuff in here. So intriguing. Okay, this covers like all the science from before Charles Darwin to after Charles Darwin, the guys who all just like paved the way for an understanding of science, just even beyond just evolutionary science, like how we carbon date, how we use trees to do dates, how things evolved to like kind of fit like puzzle pieces, and how that works, how we breed dogs, how we did that in so much amount of time, our common ancestor. Just so much crazy stuff in here. It's just really eye-opening, guys. It really definitely, it's got cool pictures and stuff if you need that. Beautiful stuff in here too. Absolutely beautiful. This book totally nuked my brain. I loved it so much. It's very enlightening. Could be dense at times, but really I love how this guy writes. He's excellent. And it ties into some of my other understandings of science that I have, for sure. So it definitely, it's also like a good review for if you took sciences in college like I did. I took a lot of, anatomy, bio, chemistry, physics, all that stuff. I took that stuff. Didn't do much with it, but I took it. I did well in it. But it shows you just all these cool things. This page is just how like these bugs, different bugs, proboscis, evolved to be the exact length that it needed to be for the different orchids in the areas. It also talks about mimicry, how some bugs pretend to be other bugs so that the bug they're luring comes over to try to mate with it, but the flower's pretending to be the bug so that the bug comes over. It's just ridiculous stuff, guys. The beauty of nature and the layers of it and how it just kind of is way beyond our understanding, and people are just trying to figure that out. And this is the compilation kind of all of that knowledge studied by a smart guy who then conceptualized everything and made it very digestible for everybody else. So yeah, that's The Greatest Show on Earth by Richard Dawkins. I can't stress enough how great this is, okay? It's not like his other stuff. I read The God Delusion too, but this is a whole other level. This is just great. And you can go in and read. You can kind of take this by any chapter, but I'd say try to read it from start to finish, because sometimes it builds and he references earlier things that he's saying. Excellent stuff here. And his bibliography is like legendary, massive, large. His notes are crazy. The guy is just super thorough, like beyond my capabilities. I can't even fathom sometimes trying to understand when someone is this level of like brain power. I just can't fathom it. So anyway, this book really is excellent, guys. It's super good. I would try to read it, maybe take some notes, take it slow, or just blast right through it. You know, I sometimes take notes, sometimes it distracts me to stop. So I don't know, I would love to, in a perfect world, take a ton of notes. I like to write in the books, but I don't always do it. Sometimes I do it at the beginning of the book, and then I just blast through the book so fast I don't want to stop. And that's a good problem to have. All these problems are good problems. Anyway, this is The Greatest Show on Earth, The Evidence for Evolution. And it's awesome, guys. So sick. Love that book. Anyway, here's the stack. I'll show you a quick little snapshot of the stack here. You know, this is just, love it. Little stack of books here. Excellent stuff. Little recap. Greatest Show on Earth. Really, save the best for last there. Nothing. Surprising insights everywhere from zero to oblivion. So cool. How We Learn to Move. A little bit niche, not for everyone. The revolution in the way we coach and practice sports skills. Book changed my life this year. Probably could change a lot of yours. Life in a Medieval City. What's not to love about that? George R. R. Martin used it anyway to help him write Game of Thrones. Apparently, I don't know. Pain, absolute staple for anyone who's into science and humans. Science of Suffering, so great. Super great. And then The Drunkard's Walk, which is a really interesting thing, and it ties into a lot of faulty thinking that even after you read it, we still do it anyway. But anyway, that's my stack, guys. I'm so happy to show that to you, because those are some great books that really do deserve to get looked at. Peace, guys. I appreciate the love. We made it to 170 subscribers as of this moment. Didn't think it would happen that fast, and it just seems to get faster and faster. So I'm just going to keep doing this thing that I'm doing, not really change anything. Seems to be working. Love it, and love you guys. Peace.